Hello, guys. We are back.
Keep going.
Welcome to the Coach Shack podcast. No,
You got to own it if you're going to do it.
I was waiting for that cut in,
No,
So,
I'm
yeah.
not saving you. I'm leaving you out there hanging.
So, yeah, guys, we are back. We are today with Coach Shack and Eli Ruby.
Hello. This is why I have to run the show. Rocky start from us, guys, but we're here.
We're here.
Welcome back to the Eat Like Ruby podcast. Like Shaq said, he's here, I'm here, we're all here. And we are doing a big juicy chat today about everything that Shaq has been up to with his nutrition training events, etc.
Yeah,
Which
cool.
is cool. Last week we did a big episode about training, which was
Yep.
awesome. Go back and listen to that if you're into training, especially if you do training and Eat Like Ruby. It is a must listen because it's a big update, which is cool. And I forgot to ask Shaq for his quote at the start of that episode. So we had to do one at the end and it was a banger. We had some good quotes, but do you have another one? We're actually recording back to back, so it's been about 2 minutes since I asked Shaq for a quote and now I'm asking for another one.
I don't think so.
You don't have any.
No.
You're done. You're all quoted out.
I wasn't ready for this one.
Did you have a quote going into the half Ironman? That's obviously what we're going to start talking about. Did you have a motivational quote just getting you through?
Enjoy the head noise.
Enjoy the head noise.
That's a quote for you right there. Enjoy the head noise.
Can you elaborate? What if people are like, what is he talking about? What is head noise?
So that means when you go to some dark places, when the going gets tough and you start thinking, fuck, can I do this? Just like keep going.
And then
Enjoy it. Like enjoy that moment.
it's kind of like embrace the struggle
Yeah,
a bit.
but better wording.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just about, enjoying that head noise because, it's just what moment you're actually in, you're doing is pretty impressive. So you just gotta enjoy it.
Yeah. You just embrace it.
Yeah.
I think
See
it's
that,
cool.
guys? A quote on the fly. How good.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. You got one or not?
I've got one that's just like a snippet of one of my Instagram captions. But I'm just
from
gonna
Coach Shack.
no, from me. I'm just gonna drop it in here. I think I'm gonna do some episodes about this in the coming weeks. But I'm just gonna drop this in here right now. This is about food, obviously, but this could be applied to a few things. If we're going to be eating for the rest of our lives, which we are, by the way, then surely we can't settle for having to choose between enjoyment or success, but not both.
Yeah, I don't mind that. That's good.
So if we think about how many people are pursuing a form of a dieting or weight loss or anything like that, especially coming into this time of year, super common to do those real shitty things around October and November.
Yep.
If we're going to be eating for the rest of our lives, which we are, then surely we can't settle for having to choose between enjoyment or success, but not both. So if you're going into something to, quote, succeed with your fat loss, weight loss, get ready for summer, whatever it is, but it's not enjoyable, you're essentially picking success over enjoyment probably for the short term, whole nother topic. If people are on the flip side or maybe at the same time, whatever, demonizing certain foods, cutting out certain foods, I can't eat XYZ and have success. If you think that you can't include foods that you enjoy in your diet and have success, again, you're essentially saying I need to choose between success and enjoyment. If we're going to be eating for the rest of our lives, which we are, you're really saying I have to pick success or enjoyment for the rest of my life, but not both.
I like that one. That's good.
Gonna be a long fucking life. Just something to think about. Like I said, I'm probably going to talk about that more in the next few weeks because I'm going to do some solos. Haven't done solos in a long time.
Yeah, right.
But I'm going to do some solos, not next week, but probably towards the end of October. And I might come back to that one. But just a cool thing to start thinking about.
That's cool. I like that.
So, guys, last weekend, we are sitting here as a bit of context on Monday, the 16th of September.
Yep.
Last weekend, on Sunday, the 8th of September, Shaq did the half Ironman on the sunny coast. He then had a few days of rest and recovery, and then he went straight into turf games, which was at the Gold Coast this weekend, literally Saturday, Sunday, and we're sitting here Monday. We'll explain a little bit more about turf soon, but that's essentially like a CrossFit-y style gym comp.
Yep.
Yeah. Probably not advisable to do them back-to-back weekends, but we can get into that. But let's talk about the half Ironman first, because obviously we spoke a lot about that. And do you know what's so crazy is think about, I remember being on the pod around April, maybe even earlier, and we were talking about the triathlon. And I remember saying, like, one day we're going to be having this combo about a half Ironman. And I think that was before you'd actually fully decided and signed up.
Yeah, really.
And then, like, now we're here, we've done it. Shit goes so fast.
Yeah, it does.
Even thinking about you documenting your Ironman thing on Insta, it was like 160 days out.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like
Bang.
9 days out. I'm like, what the hell? But very cool. And even if we think about my quote from last week, the only difference between people who succeed and those who don't is that successful people never gave up.
Yeah.
You never gave up.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's
Very
cool. I like
impressive.
that.
So last weekend, Shaq did the half Ironman, which, if people don't know, is a 1.9 kilometer swim in the ocean, come straight out, jump on the bike, 90 kilometer bike ride, come home or come back, ditch the bike, run 21 kilometers, finish.
Yeah.
So we had an episode a few weeks ago where you told us your goal time. What was the goal time? Can we talk about this?
Yeah. So 6 hours.
And what did you do it in?
So I did 6 hours and 12 minutes.
Yeah.
But so moving time I done in 6 hours, but the 12 minutes was the transitions,
Yeah.
which I never really trained or didn't really care about, to be honest. Because if it took
I
me,
feel like, not to call you out publicly, I feel like you wanted to do the whole thing in under 6 though.
yeah. So I got
Yeah. And you
was-
did 6 hours 12, which I'm not criticizing,
Yeah,
but like
so-
I think there's cool shit to talk about there. But yeah, so it was funny because when I said to Shaq, like, you want to do 6 hours, what does that look like in individual events? You said 40 minutes for the swim, and
Yep.
your swim was 40 minutes, 21 seconds.
Yeah.
Wild. And then you said up to 3 hours 20 on the bike.
Yeah.
And you did 3 hours, 20 minutes, and 20 seconds
Yep.
on the bike. Wild. And then that left, the run had to be sub 2 hours.
Yep.
And the run was pretty much 2 hours on the dot.
Yeah. I think it was 1:59.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then the 12 minutes comes in the transition. So when he comes in from the swim and gets ready to go off on the bike, obviously wetsuit has to come off, cycle gear has to go on, get on the bike, start riding, etc. That was 6 minutes. And then when he comes back from the bike, ditches that, changes shoes and everything to run off for the run. That was 6 minutes as well. So the actual moving time, like you said, was 6 hours,
Yeah.
12 minutes of transition. So the total finish time was 6 hour 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unreal that you hit those times so close to
Yeah. It was,
what
it was
you wanted.
cool.
Like,
yeah.
it was crazy. And it's funny because I had the app. If anyone's like ever seen it or done it, watched someone do it or whatever, you can get the app and it gives you heaps of updates on, like, Shaq has finished the swim, Shaq has started the ride, and then at different distances, like Shaq has ridden 21 kilometers, 40 kilometers, whatever. So it's really cool because you can watch it. And I was just watching his time. Like, he could not be more on time, because I think you even hit the halfway of the ride, because I did the maths and was like, okay, you have to hit halfway on the ride at 1:40, and you did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you were literally like clockwork on this. It was crazy.
I was on that. Yeah. It felt great doing that.
And then the run, so the run at the end is 21 Ks, which is a half marathon,
Yeah.
which you did about 4 months ago at Noosa. You did the half marathon
Yeah.
in 1:43.
Yeah.
So then you've done it this time in 1:59, 4 hours deep into exercise.
Yeah.
Like,
it was
that's
crazy.
crazy. That is wild.
Yeah. That was, yeah, definitely a whole different beast.
Yeah. Now I want to talk about this as well, but I don't want this to be like a sob story. But you basically broke your toe straight away when you ran into the water.
Yeah. So I found the one rock reef out of the whole beach and kicked that, as we do. But I don't know, like,
But I don't really feel like that stopped you.
nah, it was.
I didn't even know until after, and then he's just like, I really hurt my toe, and it was fully black, like it was fucked.
I feel like, yeah, it was more of a hindrance than anything. It wasn't going to let me stop.
Yeah. So what I want to talk about, I've actually got this in my phone, is the nutrition.
Yep.
Because I mapped all this out in my phone. This is crazy. Guys, we actually did, that's a good, while I try and find this, we fully vlogged the weekend and it was really fun. So
Yeah.
go to YouTube. I said last week, go to YouTube. Eat Like Ruby on YouTube, and you can watch like Shaq's vlog, and it was us getting ready for it, going down there. Me like filming, watching. At one point, so when he came out of the water, it's so funny because there's so many people doing these things.
Yeah.
And he had this new like bright red 2XU suit on. The same suit everyone in the Ironman fucking had on. So every person that came, and I swear every person that came out the water had that underneath and had a sleeve. So there's probably 6 times where I was like, there he is, there he is, there he is. And it wasn't you. And so when he did come out of the water finally, I'm like, yep, that's him. Where they had to run, like the athletes had to run up the beach sort of under the banner into the bike section, there was no way for spectators to get up there as well.
Yeah.
And because they had started the swim like way further down the beach. So then he's like running up and I'm like so obsessed with just cheering him on. So I want to make sure he sees me when he comes out of the water. And then I know he's going to run in and get his bike set up. And like we said, it's about 6 minutes. So I want to be on the other side when he rides off on the bike to cheer him on. But I've like sort of run up alongside him on the beach. And then I'm like, oh, I can't get through here. Tried to run through the sand dunes, got my ass kicked by some security bitch and had to turn around and run another way. And I literally ran for my life. If you watch the vlog, I'm like so puffed because I'm just like, I don't want to miss it. And I'm like haunted because when you ran at Noosa, you ran off and it must have been getting my camera ready or something.
It was too late.
Because like 10 minutes later, I'm like, he still has not run past me. Like, and this is at the start line, literally like, because they were sort of packed into a field and then they ran out through the start line. And I'm watching all these people run through. And I'm like, he must be starting way at the back or whatever. Obviously, I've just been looking down at the one split second that he's run past. Because then I start getting the things that's like, Shaq has run 5Ks. I'm like, 5Ks? Like, I didn't even think it started. So anyway, I feel like I'm haunted by that. And I want to see you at all these transitions. So I'm like legged it around to the bike thing, which was my cardio for the day. Big day for me at the Ironman, guys. I can't remember where I was going with that.
I think it's about the start of it. And in nutrition.
Yeah, well, I was looking at the nutrition, but yeah, you were wearing, that's what I was saying. You like pull off the wetsuit and stuff. So they swim obviously in the wetsuit and under the wetsuit they have the tri-suit.
Yeah.
Which is the bright red thing, the twitchy thing. So he was sort of coming out of the water pulling that off and everyone was doing the same and everyone had the same fucking bright red suit on. So, but then I saw you and I managed to get around to like that bit where you rode off on the bike, which was really cool. But then it's funny because they ride off on the bike and if anyone knows the coast, like we're at the Spit at Mooloolaba and then they ride up to Coolum and back twice.
Twice.
So they kind of ride off and then you're like, okay, I've got 3 hours to get off. So it's a bit random like that compared to football. But I just got your nutrition up for the day. I think that's what we're talking about, the vlog.
Yeah.
And we were talking about your nutrition in the vlog. So you took off, I think you took off for the swim at about 6:20 ish in the morning. So what we had on our nutrition schedule was at 4 a.m., 3 bagels and Biscoff.
Yeah.
For 1,200 calories.
Yeah.
You also had a Dare iced coffee,
Yeah.
which you have every single day of your life, which is about 500 calories.
Yeah. Maybe just a bit higher.
Yep. So 1,700 calories right there. 100 grams of lollies.
Yep.
Once we're at the event. So that the other stuff was at 4 a.m. This is 5:30. 100 grams of lollies, which is about 350 calories, 80 grams of carbs, just before you start. So before you start, you've done like 2,000 calories.
Yep.
Cray.
Oh, and a Monster.
Yeah, but they don't really have calories because you go sugar-free.
Yeah. Okay,
But that's
sorry.
more caffeine.
Yeah.
So Monster, which is like I've got under the lollies, 140 milligrams caffeine, which came from the Monster. 6 a.m. start, so off he goes. In the transition area from the swim to the bike, one of those like proteiny bar things.
Yeah.
Yep, which is about 200 calories, 12 grams of carbs.
Yep.
On the bike, 500 ml bottle. In that bottle is 100 milligrams of caffeine, 320 calories, and 80 grams of carbs. So that's really like a stamina-y sort of, just like a carb mix. Sodium electrolyte is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But then we also have a bottle with 4 scoops of staminate in it as well.
Yeah.
Which is 240 cal, 60 grams of carbs. Another one of those bars,
Yeah.
200 cals, and another 100 grams of lollies, 350 cals.
Yeah.
Then in the transition, so he's come back from the bike and goes off to run, drink any remaining drinks and lollies. So anything that was left over from the bike, you smash down before you run off.
Yeah.
On the run, 2 times caffeinated gels at the 10-kilometer mark. So 200 calories, 50 grams of carbs, 60 milligrams of caffeine.
Yep.
Now, the thing I want to say first of all is this is not nutrition advice. This is so personalized to Shaq and doing trial and error over the last 5 months, seeing where the threshold is, where the limit is. We spoke about this a while back with training the gut, where every athlete is going to be able to tolerate a different amount of all of these things.
Yeah.
And then you can try and build your tolerance to those things over time and really find the sweet spot for you. And it's such an art. It's such a tricky thing because you're trying to find the tolerance and the sweet spot for overall intake, carbohydrate intake, caffeine intake, fluid intake. So you could be in a position where you're like, I hate fluid, but I need X amount of carbs and energy. I can't get them, or like my tolerance right now to the fluid is so low, so they can't come. If we think about here, we've got a 500 ml bottle with 80 grams of carbs. If you were like, I need that 80 grams of carbs, but I cannot tolerate 500 mils of fluid, you got to work out how am I getting that in a different way. So it's such a juggling thing. Same with the caffeine, like that had 100 milligrams of caffeine in it. If you're in a position where you're like, I don't want fluid at that time, but I want caffeine at that time, how do I get that in? Maybe it's through a caffeinated gel. People are then like, I've hit my threshold with the gels. I can't tolerate any more of them because they can fuck with people's gut.
Yep.
So it's honestly such a balancing act of how much overall energy, how much carbs, how much fluid, how much caffeine do you need? And then how do you make all of those things work together?
Yep.
That's really tricky.
Yeah,
and
so
that's
hard.
why you want to trial and error it for a long time. And you would rather trial and have potential error on a practice day than on race day.
Yeah.
And
100%.
even Shaq and I had like about 5 little bickers over the 48 hours before the race because he would randomly say shit to me like, what time do you think I should take my beta-alanine? Should I have it before or should I divvy it up? And I'm like, what have you been doing? And he's like, I've just been having it before. And I'm like, so why would you change it now? Like, A, I've told you to trial and error all this shit for months. And B, if you've been doing it that way all along and it's working, why are you thinking about changing it today?
Yeah.
And you do that with so many things.
True.
He was asking me so many things like that. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to sound like a bitch, but why? Like, why are you asking me this? We've been talking about this for 5 months.
Yeah.
You were like second guessing everything.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah.
But this is just cool to know that so much trial and error and stuff went into that. And even when you went to the bagels, like you had to build up to that 3 bagels and Biscoff. Like that's 1,200 calories. And there's probably a lot of people listening that are in a fat loss phase going, oh my God, I'd love 3 bagels and Biscoff. But having pretty much every morning, Shaq would go off and train, whether it was running, swimming, riding, whatever, at 8 a.m. He would have a Dare iced coffee, 3 bagels, Biscoff, and lollies before he leaves the house. Like, we get people in Eat Like Ruby that are like, I can't eat 2 rice cakes before I train. So, like, we've got a person here eating over 2,000 calories before they train. So people hear it and go, oh my God, I'd love to have that. But it's like, would you really?
Yeah.
That's not what it is. It's not like pigging out on fun food because you feel like it. It's like literally carb loading at 8 o'clock in the morning before you run 25 kilometers. Like, it's just a different thing.
It's different, yeah.
So, like, you built up to that over a while because you were doing 2 bagels for a while. I remember the day you went to 3. I was so proud. I'm like, he's doing 3. It's cool. And I've said this before. In my opinion, the more we can eat or the more we can take in, the more energy we can take in before we train or compete or do anything like this, the better.
Yeah.
Within reason. Like, everyone's going to hit that point where it's like, okay, I can't do any more now. Like, it's pushed me over the line into discomfort, whether that's gut issues, bloating, like there could be so many things that could play out there. But again, that comes back to training the gut and finding the threshold. Like, you want to find what is the absolute most that I can do before I cross that line into discomfort. Because if we think about food being energy, why would you not want the most energy in your system possible when you go into something like this?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's what food looked like. And it actually totaled 2,960 calories, so basically 3,000 calories, 518 grams of carbs, 300 milligrams of caffeine, which isn't a lot. That's the one thing I said to you. I would be, you don't have to, but
Caffeine.
I would be, caffeine.
Yeah.
I would be looking at,
Bit
could you bring in more? Do you need to bring in more? Would you benefit from bringing in more? Because relative to your body weight, that's pretty low.
Low, yeah.
Yeah. Like that's me before a podcast. So, so that's the one little thing you could look at. And then obviously, like when you do something like this, you've done the trial and error. So you're not going to do anything stupid that's really going to upset you on the day. But you've also never done a 6-hour half Ironman. So when you did this, was there times where you were like, I was too full, I was hungry, energy dipped, caffeine? Like, was there anything that actually clocked on the day?
I definitely didn't feel hungry, but I felt at the back end, I felt like I probably could have had a bit more caffeine and maybe another bar or something like a whole food on the bike. I feel like, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and that's so common because if we think about all the fluid coming in and then the gels can kind of give people that squirmish feeling. And if people don't know gels, they're pretty much just like a little sugary sachet that's like jelly almost. You just like slurp it up. And really the point of them is to get easy carbs into the system without volume and bulk and like filling you up.
Yeah.
It's literally just like slurping a little thing of gooey
Like
sugar.
Yeah.
And that's the point of it. And then you can get caffeinated ones. So it's exactly that with caffeine in it. So a lot of people can't tolerate them too well and they need to build up the tolerance to that.
Yeah. I was the same.
Yeah, you were actually. Yeah, so then you would just look and go, do I need to reduce any of the fluid or anything that came in? Or if that felt good, do I just need to add like a more dense, like you said, a whole food, like if it's a bar or something that's actually a bit more filling into the system alongside that. But yeah, cool to know. And the only way you can know is through trial and error.
Yeah. That's the only way you're going to find out.
Yeah. What was the hardest part?
It's probably 2 parts. I feel like the swim,
There's only 3 to it, mate.
I felt that's where I felt it most.
What, the swim?
Swim felt forever. I was doing it for 2 hours. And the run was...
That's funny because it's like the shortest.
Yeah. It was just like, wow. But the run was taxing. I
mean, it makes sense. It is 21 kilometers, 4 hours in.
About maybe 15 Ks in, I was just like, okay, my legs and everything are getting real heavy now.
Again, it makes sense. Do you hit a point though then when you're like, it's fucking 6Ks to go? Like, what would that be? Half an hour to go?
Yeah.
Like, at what point does everything leave your mind and you're just like, I'm fucking nearly done a half Ironman. Like, I'm going to get it done.
Yeah, I feel like you just kind of go into a hole where I was just picking out people in front of me. It was like him, her, like, close the gap, past him. Okay, where's the next person? Close the gap. And just keep on going. Like,
yeah.
I feel like if you're in that point where if you slow down or stop, you're probably not going to go again.
Did you stop at all?
No.
I can't imagine you stopping. And I don't say this to judge because I've absolutely never done this and I would be stopping. But it's weird to me when people are stopping for a long time or like at the start of the run, people were walking. And to each their own, like, again, I'm not judging at all, but like my mind just goes to a place of like, if you're walking with 21 Ks to go,
You're in there forever.
like, is it a strategic little like 2-minute walk and then I'm good? Like everyone's going to be different. So I shouldn't judge at all. But yeah, there was just people where I saw like, are you going to be good for 20 more Ks?
Yeah, like...
And it doesn't seem like a thing to me where you would just have a go. Like,
Yeah.
You know, when you see like those sort of 10-kilometer runs or even the triathlon was such a smaller distance. I mean, it's still a wicked achievement. I'm definitely not shaming anyone for having to go, but it's weird to me if someone looks at a 6-hour half Ironman and goes, oh, I'll just have a crack.
Have a crack at that,
And like if they haven't trained much or whatever. And that was just kind of where my mind goes when someone's walking in the first minute. I'm like, have you trained? And again, maybe they have.
Yeah.
But you're like, have you? And if you have, were you planning on walking right now? And if you haven't, why did you sign up here? Like, it just seems a bit of a crazy thing to do if you're not pretty sure you can do it.
Yeah, because even the aid stations where I was getting water and stuff, like that was a place I could have walked, but I didn't. So I literally just squeezed a cup, threw it on my face or threw it on my back and just kept on going.
Yeah, because I feel like you just like in your momentum, in your stride. Even like George did her half marathon and stuff. And we've spoken so much about like when you hit that walking point, like if you let yourself walk once,
You could.
sort of break the cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like if people walk in these things, I'm not judging at all. Like it's still a wicked achievement.
Yeah.
But you don't, hey?
No, because I was like, if I can hold a 5 or 5:30 pace, I'll be happy with that. And
Your
I did.
pace was unreal. It was I was watching that the whole time, and it was only really, I think when you hit like the 18-kilometer mark,
Going up the hill, I think.
you dropped into like 6-minute Ks.
Yeah.
But you maintained 5-minute Ks for the whole thing,
Throughout,
basically.
yeah.
Which is unreal because I couldn't do that right now, just going down to the letterbox. So, like, that's incredible.
I think I definitely felt that when I was going up Alex Hill for the last time. I was like, okay, I can feel it now. But then when I got over the hill, I'm like, fuck, 2Ks to go, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually a different beast for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, if anyone's wondering, I also had a big day. I got 22,000 steps chasing my half Ironman around the coast. Big day for me.
It's pretty funny on the couch. But he goes, I don't want to say, but I'm tired.
It's actually like that because you feel like, well, I can't complain because you've just done a half Ironman, but also big day on the steps for me, big day on my feet, and then I'm like carrying all the stuff and doing everything because the old half Ironman's limping around with a broken toe. Guys, just a little moment for me. Literally so deep in my deficit, 23,000 steps into my day, I'm in the KFC drive-through, getting the half Ironman, his KFC, and then I'm going home and literally having the like Ruby bowl. You'll see it on the vlog.
Yeah. Credit to that. Credit to that.
Yeah, massive credit to me. I'm like literally ultimate zinger box burger, whatever the hell he wants, maxi this, maxi that, and nothing for me. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. How'd you feel the next day?
Yeah, cooked. I felt like that night couldn't really walk, couldn't really bend over.
Was that because of the broken toe or was that the bod?
There's a bod.
And was it like injury or was it just pure fatigue?
Just fatigue and the stiffness setting in. So I felt like mostly my legs, but then obviously like whole back.
I feel like your back gets really cooked on the bike, hey?
Yeah, and then even the arms a little bit too, which I was surprised about from swim, obviously.
Yeah.
But like that being the smallest thing, it wouldn't be that sore. But yeah, definitely legs and back was so cooked.
Yeah. And did you train at all last week? So the week after it?
Did one session on Thursday.
Yeah, right.
This weights. I planned to do a shakeout run, but this didn't happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly that week was this recovery room and this rest.
Yep. And then you went to turf on the weekend.
Yeah.
So for turf, guys, on the way here in the car, I asked Jack, like, what actually happens at turf? And he just rattled off so much shit. And I was like, we're not like describing all of this on the podcast. But like I said before, it's basically kind of like imagine a big CrossFit Games outdoors and you have a team of 6 people and you do a lot of, would you do 6 or 7 little events?
Yeah, so it's 4 events on Saturday and then 3 events on Sunday.
And it's things where like, you know, maybe people are on the rower and other people are running and then they swap over and everything is sort of like this many reps and then how many rounds can you do in 15 minutes and shit like that. On my list, I've got rower, shuttle runs, ski erg, ball to shoulder. Can you just tell us what a ball to shoulder is for people that don't know?
So that's like a ground to shoulder. So pretty much you're picking up a dead ball from the ground, pick it up on the hips, pick a big dead ball on your shoulder, make sure it's secure, drop it back down.
Yeah, and because what I've got here is that the dude's one was 50 kilos and the girl's was 30.
Yep.
That's not light.
Nah.
Like that's, you know, when
Hefty
you see
weight.
people doing that in the gym with like a 3 kilo medicine ball.
Yeah.
And is it the same thing with the wall ball? No, they're lighter.
Nah, so
There's no way.
I think they're 6 kilos.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a bit more my speed. And then they've got that big worm thing. So is that essentially just like a big sandbag?
Yeah. 120 kilos.
And everyone's kind of holding it and passing it around and doing different
Yep.
shit with that. 4.5 kilometer run, holding a rope.
Yeah, so pretty much as a team, one person would shoot off, be like a rabbit, going as fast as you can, and the rest of people will be holding a rope.
Yeah.
And it's just pretty much that first person finishes, and the rest of people finish at the same time. And
Yeah,
try to get under 28 minutes, that was.
Yeah, right. And then there's a bit of swimming, a bit more bike erg, toes to bar, rope climbs. It's just a big event.
Yeah, it definitely was a big day. or
And
2
so
days.
were you feeling like ready for that after the half Ironman? Like, were you having regrets at any point?
I felt kind of refreshed before it, but that first event with the worm, especially, that was probably the most leg heavy exercises, the lunges and all that. That's why I was like, what have I done here?
Yeah. So, guys, we actually went to a wedding on Friday night and then we just had like the most random few days. We had to drop the dog off, drive down to this wedding, got lost, ended up on the gateway, back across the gateway, literally late. Shout out to Taste Late. We walked in to her wedding late. Like they're doing their vows and we're opening the door of the church. So awkward. But we were at this wedding and then we drove home.
Yeah, to Woodford, yeah.
Yeah, to like Shaq's folks' place. Got there at like midnight. The dog was gone off his head. Set the alarm for 3:15 to then drive Shaq down to meet people to go to turf. And when I was piecing all this together, I was just like, Shaq, I think I'm going to sit turf out. Like, I just think I'm going to come on home with the dog and have a weekend at home.
Yeah.
Because it was just so messy. So you'd had about 3 hours sleep as well.
Yeah.
And then he texted me at probably like 9:30 and he was just like, I'm going to find the text. Because the first thing they did was with that worm and we've just like done this big wedding ordeal. Literally my whole text chat with Shaq when he's away is just photos of the dog.
Yeah.
I'd love to know if anyone else does this. It's just dog, dog, dog. I got, my first event is at 8:40 and I said, woohoo, good luck, Shaqy. And then at 9:28, I got Ironman legs are not built for this worm. Laughing face, laughing face, laughing face, laughing face. And I said, haha, are you done with that one now? And he said, yep, that one is done, thank God. I said, when's the next one? 11:56. It's like a sandbag, one more legs.
Yeah, so that's the one with the dead ball.
He's delusional at this point.
Yeah, so that obviously was easier than the worm. The worm was definitely by far the hardest.
Yeah. So how are you feeling right now?
I feel sore. My legs feel sore, but this probably is tired over the whole body, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but not overall pretty good.
And like this week are we resting? Are we having days off?
Probably maybe have a couple more days off, refresh the body a little bit, maybe go for a swim. It's nice and easy on the body, and then slowly start bringing everything back in.
Mm-hmm. So what are we bringing everything back in for? What's the next goal? What have we committed our lives to?
All right.
I'm excited. I'm pumped as for you.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. So I bought the ticket probably 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I'm doing the full Ironman in Port Mac.
He's doing a full Ironman. We're going to Port Mac.
Port Mac on the 4th of May. So I'll give myself...
This guy who doesn't even know what way is up knows exactly when that is.
I don't know what day it is, but it's the 4th. So that's the next big event I got up. So that's giving me about 6 months window to train in.
Yeah, I think we worked out if you basically rip back into training the first week of October, so you kind of need to give yourself these 2 weeks to just
Kick back.
do whatever. Well, we got October, November, December, Jan, Feb, March. You've got 7 months, but really you would look at the 7th one. There'd be a lot of like taper, whatever.
Yeah.
Like you've really got a 6-month aggressive training block coming up.
First block I'm going to solely focus on doing a full marathon run because I've never done that before, so I definitely need to get some Ks in the legs for that.
Are you going to actually compete in a full marathon if we can find one?
If I can find one, but I think for the time of year, it's going to be hard.
Well, we've kind of found some. I think we'll have to travel, but
Yeah, but if not...
any excuse to use my caravan.
If not...
Shaq, if you could just run a marathon so I can hang out in the caravan, that'd be great.
Because I was tempted to do the 50K GC, but that's just...
It's too soon.
Too soon.
No, it's giving stupidity.
Yeah, so pretty much first block, I'm going to solely focus on running, which still doing some bikes, some swims. Because that's probably my main focus I've found in the half Ironman. I need to improve the swim, just get better with the catch, pull, and stuff like that. And then on the bike, there's a term I've heard is just stretching that rubber band out further and further with the pace. So on the Ironman, I held 27 to 28 Ks pretty consistently, which I was pretty proud of that.
So that's 28 k's an hour, ride speed.
Yeah, so if I can get into mid-30s for this next one, and it's trying to hold that pace for longer time. So I think that's the part where I want to most improvement for that. And I think it's going to be doing more sprint efforts on the bike and just longer rides, which is going to come.
Yeah, so if we look at a full Ironman, 3.9 kilometre swim,
Yep,
180 kilometre ride,
yep,
42 kilometre run.
yep. There's a 42K run to finish on.
A lot of people kick off randomly. Like such a random distance. Why don't they just do 4Ks? But the whole thing is based on miles.
Yeah, so that's 140 miles.
What is?
the whole like distances.
Oh, okay.
in
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I meant the swim. I was like, this seems excessive. Yeah, so the distances are random because they're converted over from the miles. So 3.9 swim, 180 ride, 42 run. And it's, well, really, it's double what
Yeah.
you've just done, which is just, it's actually a little bit insane. Like, a massive part of my brain is like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like, fuck yes, go Shaq. How cool. Like, I'm so excited to just do it. And we're going to speak a bit more about that over the coming weeks and on YouTube and stuff, because I know for a lot of people say it's such a selfish sport, and someone said to me it's one of the main causes of divorce and like all this stuff. Because if you think about a really traditional family where maybe there's like a mum and dad and kids and everyone works 9 to 5 or whatever, that would be incredibly hard
So hard.
to do, like wild. And massive hats off to anyone that's doing that, and massive hats off to any partners that are doing that as well, because it has, like, there's been so many things in the last few months where and I'm not saying this to brag or anything at all, like I love supporting him, but there's been so many little things where I'm like, I'll pick up the slack on that because he's training. And I again think about someone who, you know, I've got a lot of flexibility with my work. I work a lot, but I've got a lot of flexibility with it, and I don't have to answer to a boss,
Yeah.
and I don't have kids. So I just think about someone who has a lot more responsibility and has to do shit at certain times. Huge thing for a partner to just essentially send off if I just sent you off, like, you go do your training and I'll take care of everything else.
Yeah. It's a full on.
Wild. So we're gonna speak about that more, and I'm gonna document that hugely on YouTube. Again, guys, get to YouTube. What's everyone doing? Because to me, like, we actually had a lot of convos about this before he signed up, and I was like, I don't want you to do this in a sense of like you're kind of hustling and grinding and like have to get it done, and I'm like, oh, well, if you're going to go off on a 6-hour ride, I may as well work for 6 hours. Like, I want us to embrace the whole thing and enjoy the whole thing a lot more. Like, there's a reason we don't have kids. There's a reason we've worked so hard to work for ourselves and have a different lifestyle and freedom and all of these things. I don't want to trap us in this like shitty routine by choice. So it was super important to me where I said to Shaq where I'm going to talk about my own goals in the upcoming weeks, but even if everyone saw on Instagram, like the funny reel we did where I got the bike to go like ride while he's running. So I have absolutely no desire to do a half Ironman and take up riding in that way. But I just bought like the fun bike to be like, okay, cool. If you're going to run 20 Ks, I'll ride with you.
Yeah.
And just embrace little parts of it like that. And I'm not naive to the fact that it's going to be super like draining on you physically, mentally, and emotionally, and it's gonna be our life for the next 6 months, 100%. I'm not naive to that. I'm not oblivious to that. But it was kind of looking at that fact and going, well, if that is true, which it is, how do we make that as enjoyable as we can, and how do we embrace that and actually make that our life in a fun way?
Yeah.
Not in a like no one's making you do it. There's no gun to your head, so you never want to be in that position of like, oh my God, I have to go off and do this. It's
Yeah.
like, well, don't do it then.
Exactly.
So, like, we want to actually enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Massive thing to do, but can be
Crazy.
cool, I think, if it's approached in the right way. And I think we're really fortunate to be in a position where we can approach it that way.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm excited. I'm excited for you. And honestly, I'm just excited to take the caravan to Port Macquarie.
Even though it will be freezing that time of year.
Oh my God, I'll be bitching about that. Don't you worry. You'll see that on the vlog. But no, I'm excited. I think it's really cool. And another thing we spoke about when he was deciding to do it is like we kind of spoke about a few different things, and I was like, you're gonna want to do it at some point. Like, you're going to want to do this at some point. And there's Port Mac in May. There's Cairns at some point. We spoke about that, and I was like, you're gonna need to go to Port Mac. You're gonna have to go to Cairns for a while and get conditioned to the humidity if you want to do it that way.
Yeah.
There was just a few things that we spoke about like that. And I said to him, you're going to want to do this at some point. So it seems kind of not stupid, but
Not
if
ideal.
you were to completely stop running and riding and swimming and doing all those things and then decide in 18 months' time that you want to do it, you're essentially going to start from scratch
Yeah.
again. And
So-
that's where I was like, well, if you're kind of halfway there,
Yeah. And I
do
definitely
you keep going?
doing these events they show you what you need to work on. And just like, okay, I mismarked that like me.
Mm-hmm.
Swim, hold a better pace on the bike. So now I know, okay,
You
need
know
to put
what
more-
you're going to work on.
Yeah. So
Yeah. And I think too, I think a massive part of it is you're going to be training over summer this time as opposed to winter, which you personally love training in the heat.
Yeah.
Shaq will wait till like the hottest part of a summer's day and go for a run. It's wild. But also too, it's light so much earlier. You can fit in so much more. Like right now, you were waiting and going riding it. Like it was awkward because you didn't want to go in the dark, or like if you didn't have to, you didn't want to go in the dark. And then you're like, oh, then there's kind of like that trafficy time. So you were waiting to go every day until like 9:30 or 10.
yeah,
Whereas now I feel like you're going to be going at 4.
yeah, it's gonna be so much better.
Yeah,
Like,
which you were doing kind of for the triathlon like this time last year almost. So again, I was like, well, that could work hugely in your favor if you're looking at a big 6-month training window and there's a lot more daylight happening. Because we're not really nighttime trainers.
nah.
We're like morning, daytime, whatever, get shit done. Like we're done by 6:30 at night.
Correct.
We're on the couch. So I just think that's going to work hugely in your favor as well.
Yeah, it definitely makes it more fun too because get up early, still have a whole day to do our stuff, so it's good.
You'll be asleep.
Correct.
But one other thing I was saying there is, like, I think it's super cool. I think it's awesome. Like, I'm 90% all for it. There's a 10% of me that's like, why would you do that? Why would a person swim 3.9 kilometers and then ride for 180 and then run for 42? Like, why the fuck is anyone doing this?
So that's what I learned on the Ironman, half Ironman.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much about speed; it's about that mental grit.
Like internal.
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
how much can you do? 'Cause I feel like there's always that concept. You come like across a 20-year-old Shaq and me now. That 20-year-old Shaq would beat me in short distances, but you get that above that threshold, like 3-hour ride. Like, okay, I've been this hurt before. Like, I know
Yeah,
I can keep
right.
going through that.
Yeah.
It's it's just that little push you get from that other side that you don't really know you have.
A lot of people talk about the people that get into these things are, and I don't speak about this lightly because I know there's a lot to this, but a lot of people can use events like this to channel like trauma and things like that. You know, like people that have had something really traumatic in their past and they want to channel all of their energy into something. Or I think it can be common for people that have had things like eating disorders or any sort of, I don't know what the word is there, like obsessive kind of
yeah.
things, and then they channel it into this. And sometimes that can be really positive and sometimes it might not be. So I don't feel like any of that applies to you. I feel like you just are like, oh, cool challenge.
I feel like that's the thing too, like the challenge, like not many people have the capability of doing it. And like to be in, so this one probably will take me from anywhere from 12 to about 14 hours.
That's wild.
To be in that state for that long is definitely going to be interesting to see how I cope with that. And I'm very much open to that experience. I want to take it all on board. And
If anyone needs me, I'll be in the caravan.
you got some time to kill, so. But yeah, it's just 3 different elements to train, and yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
When you think about the next 6 months in, like, let's just say, for example, once a week, you're going to go on a 5-hour bike ride. Like, what comes to your mind when we present that?
I think it's just going to be like, okay, so see if I can do it. Like, see how well I can cope with it. Like, it's being in the sun for that long, pedaling for that long, and like,
Yeah. The thing is as well, with the half that he just did and with the full, you don't do headphones at all. So you train predominantly with headphones. Occasionally you'll do like a session without it just to
just get
that.
used to it. Yeah.
Yeah, to build that up. But yeah, the actual events are, what are you laughing at?
I know you're going to ask me.
What?
What do I think about?
I feel like you've told me you just think about random different shit all the time.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, I don't know why, but the random conversations pop in my head in this day, that like TV shows. But yeah, I definitely just find that one song, if it's a brand new song, it's just stuck in my head.
Oh my God, guys, for like the week before the half Ironman, he's just listening to this one song everywhere, like in the house, in the car, everything. And I'm like, why are we just listening to this one song? And he's like, I'm trying to get this in my head. I'm just going to sing this nonstop. What was that song?
I feel like I'm in a rave, baby.
Yeah. Yep, that's it.
It was that
That's
one?
the one.
And for the try, it was
Brittany.
She's Always on Backup. That's in my head forever. So Brittany 1, 2, 3, always in my head.
Shaq, I don't know if we've spoken about this on the podcast. Shaq riding to that Britney song that's literally just like 1, 2, 3. But then he comes home one day and goes, one of my headphones was flat, so all I heard was 1 and 3. I'm like, oh my God.
I still knew it was there.
Anyone else is like, going to just be chucking a massive tantrum. And Shaq's just like, where was Brittany where I needed her?
Bloody bitch. And then either Bota, baddest of them all.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
the baddest of them all. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of songs that get stuck in your head, and it's just
You get them stuck in your head on purpose. And
Yeah.
then what? You're just riding along, like singing the song.
And when you go onto those hills, definitely on the bike, it's just like I need like that.
The beat. You just
Yeah.
make your own beat. That is so funny.
It's just what you got to do.
I love it. Now, guys, the last little thing I want to speak about with Shaq, Ironman, nutrition, training. Classic Shaq and Rubes. He literally pulls out to me the other day. Right now, like I'm 10 days away from my shoot, which means I'm about 14 weeks into my fat loss phase. She's nearly done. Let's wrap it up. Shaq, obviously, like we've heard, has been on 4,000-ish calories a day. I've been on 1,600. I'm in KFC. Then I'm going home and eating fruit. Like the total opposites. I'm about to wrap it up. And he says to me the other day, I think I need to go into a deficit. I think I need to drop weight before the fall, and I need to drop it soon before I get right into the training. And he's like, so October's going to be a diet month for me. Guys, I'm literally shooting on the 26th of September, and then I'm wrapping up fat loss. And then he says to me, October's going to be a diet month for me. If anyone doesn't know, this has been our life for 5 years.
It's always just, you go.
The
I
total
go.
opposite. Like, I'm in the deficit, he's eating all the food. I'm eating all the food, he decides to go on a diet. Like, every time.
All the time. But yeah, I'll say that too. Like, I definitely feel like I don't need to, because I feel like looks-wise, I've definitely been the lightest I've been in God knows how long. I feel like
What are you sitting at? Like, what did you compete at? Around 98?
I think around 98 to 100, I think.
Yeah. And so just for context, if people don't know, like he's been as heavy as 130, but he pretty much played footy around the 110, give or take.
Yeah.
Like 108 to 114-ish was really his footy weight for a long time. So you've been sitting under 100 since you did that mini cut in March.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think now it's just like,
And so are you thinking for the full you need to be lighter? Like competing the other week at 97-ish, do you feel like you need to be lighter?
yeah, from the sake of performance sake, I feel like I could make it easy for myself.
Yeah. It's really interesting, like super off topic, but we were listening to a podcast the other day and they were talking about this and endurance runners and people running and stuff. And essentially just saying like this person who was heavily into the sport, like it was their whole life, assessing any really, for lack of a better word, unnecessary muscle on his body and going into like intentional muscle atrophy, which is like
Yeah.
intentionally losing muscle, which is done through like a deficit and obviously setting up training to not work that muscle. And it takes a lot of time and there's a bit to it. But this guy was saying like, I don't need triceps and biceps as a runner. So he wasn't doing any swim or anything.
Yeah.
He was pretty much just doing, riding, I think.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I don't need triceps and biceps. So I'm going to intentionally drop the muscle from that area because it's just carrying unnecessary weight that I don't want to carry.
Yeah. It's crazy. That.
It's so funny to think about people doing that. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it does make sense, but it's a whole
wild.
different thing.
Yeah. That's a whole next level.
It's funny. But really, like coming back to you, just thinking about doing this whole thing at 97, do you just feel like you'd be more comfortable? Like, what are you kind of thinking roughly? 90? Under 90?
Yeah, around the 90s, I think.
You under 90 would be wild.
I'll be like a baby giraffe.
You will be so lean.
But I guess too, like, hit 95, see how I feel, and it's like keep looking how I feel, because I definitely don't want to be, I want to be performance.
You don't want to be like weak.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just play by ear, but I think 90 is the goal.
That's wild. That's going to be so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, we are going to talk about this a fair bit more over the next 6 months. I'd say it's all we're going to fucking talk about.
And honestly, if you follow me, if you got used to the reels, they're coming back. They might be a little bit longer this time.
No, but we'll definitely like keep up with Shaq's training, and that's kind of what I want to use YouTube for. So I would have, by the time this comes out, I would have wrapped up my own fat loss phase on YouTube. in the next few weeks, like towards the middle and end of October, I'm going to speak about my own personal goals and like nutrition and training now that my fat loss phase is over and what I'm working on and what that looks like. I'm going to speak a little bit about maintenance, moving away from tracking or strict goals and things like that. There's a fair bit to talk about there. And it kind of ties in with what Shaq's doing because I really want my nutrition and training to just be in a good place with the rest of my life. I'm going to speak about that more in the next few weeks, but I don't really have big nutrition and training goals for 2025. It's more that I have other big goals and I want comfortable, simple nutrition and training in place to support that.
Yep.
Which is a really cool thing to speak to because I think people just assume that you always have to have big nutrition and training goals.
Yeah, and you don't.
You don't.
No.
But you can, and it's awesome. And obviously the big dog over here's got his. Lots of the Acroby girls have theirs, but it's cool to just focus on different things at different times.
Yeah,
I'm going to
100%.
speak about that in the next few weeks. Anything else, big dog?
I don't think so. If you guys on the sunny coast and like running, I will be running. So if you guys want to jump in for the runs,
And I'll be on the bike.
Yeah, it will help me immensely. But yeah, give us a shout out.
I'll be cruising along. I don't think we spoke about, did we speak about the bike on
No, so
the
that
pod?
no.
Okay, so guys, a quick little story before we wrap up. I got the bike. If you haven't seen on Insta, I got my bike. The whole thing was like, I'm getting the bike so I can ride while Shaq's running. Happy days. Awesome. And it is really cool. I am enjoying it. But I don't know if I overestimated my riding ability or I underestimated your running ability. Because when we did it the first time, I just thought it'd be straight up cruising. And he took off running. And then I was like, oh, I want to start my watch so I can see like how far I
we
ride,
going?
whatever. By the time I get the watch sorted, I look up and Shaq is gone. I'm like, shit, all right, we're on here. So I like pedaled, caught up with him, happy days, cruising along. And we're like cruising for a while, but he's fast on his feet. And I'm like, this isn't a leisurely bike ride for me. I thought I would be like riding off and coming back and
just cruising.
seeing what you're up to. But like he was setting the pace and I was riding with that pace. And then if anyone knows the Alex Hill, when we were coming up, like we're at the bottom of the hill, and I said to Shaq, I'm going to have to charge up this hill. Otherwise, I'm not getting up. So I'm just going to go for it and then we'll reconvene at the top. And I'm like charging up this hill. My quads were on fire. Like this is very new to me as well. I'm just like pumping. And I'm like, when I get to the top, I'll get to have a rest. Like happy days. Get to the top. I'm absolutely cooked. I turn around and Shaq is right there. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, no rest for me. We're still going. And then it was so funny because it was on a weekend and Georgia just happened to be like out for breakfast at somewhere right there at Alex. And she just got on her phone in the perfect time, gets this video of Shaq just cruising and me like pumping my legs so hard behind on this bike. She sends it to me and she's like, get it, boss. And I'm like, oh my God, gee, you got no idea. So it was just quite an event and it's quite a workout for me out there.
So I might have to upgrade to an electric bike.
But it kind of defeats the purpose. I could just try and get better.
Have it for an option there. Okay.
I think you did 18 Ks on that day.
Yeah.
I did 12. I didn't even do the whole thing, guys. When we got towards where we were turning, I said to Shaq, I'm going to just start heading back now. And you can catch up to me along the way. So, yeah, I'll be riding. He'll be running.
Yeah.
We're going way further than 18.
Yeah, we were hitting high 30s. Probably 50.
We hit a 40?
Yeah.
Did you just say 50?
I think that's like that last week. I think you said. Yeah, so yeah, that'd be interesting.
Watch this space, guys.
Let's go.
Love it. No, it's cool. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, you can follow coach_Shaq. Is that what it is? On Insta. Obviously, if you're not following eat_like_Ruby on Insta. Subscribe, follow, like the pod, whatever you do with that. And YouTube. Get to YouTube. I'm going to have to do some sort of like enticing giveaway or something on YouTube just to get the people over there.
Honestly, there's a cute little French bulldog on there.
He is the star. He is the star. Yeah, Nutella will be coming along for this whole journey. We can't really take him riding and running because he has terrible cardiovascular
I have
fitness.
seen like backpacks though.
Oh,
of
we'll
dogs.
just carry the dog like a weighted run. He'll be coming to Port Mac. He will be in the caravan in the aircon for the whole time.
He'll be sleeping.
But no, thank you so much for coming in, Shaq. That's awesome. Obviously super exciting. Watch this space, guys. This is huge. And I think I mentioned it before, but in next week's episode, we have Shaq back again with Lockie Stewart as well, who is a running coach. And he gave us some great info about getting started with running, setting up a program that combines running and weights, all the things we want to think about with running, really,
Yeah.
with the running trend. So definitely stay tuned for that one.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a few solos coming after that, talking about my own nutrition, training, maintenance goals, all the things.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.